Hey alchemists, welcome to our rainbow series. Our theme is Defy Gravity. So we call it the rainbow series because we are going into an element of our own energetic system known as the chakras. Now within our energetic system, we have what we call the shadow and the grace. Now our shadow is the part of us that needs healing. It is a wound that has not been tended. And we'll know that we're living in our shadow. We'll know we're living our life through our wound because we are living through a mistaken perception of who we really are. That we are not enough, that we don't have enough. The life feels unfair and we feel powerless. But remember, the wound is the place where the light enters in. And grace is what brings that light and opens up the path to healing. So when we are living life through grace, we see the world as a mystic, meaning we see God as all things. We see God as the everywhere present, infinite force that it is. Everything that's ever been and everything that is yet to be comes from this source energy, including us and including every person on this planet. So we see into the world as a mystic. We act in the world as an alchemist, meaning we stand in our authority here and now. We decide how we're going to show up, right? That's on us. It's our responsibility to decide starting this minute. You know, whatever happened 10 minutes ago or 10 years ago, it's in our history. But starting right now, we get to decide that we're going to show up as the fully empowered soul that we came to this planet to express. When we do this, we transmute the weight of our suffering, the metaphorical lead into gold. And because we transmute the weight, this is how we defy gravity. We release the weight of suffering, so we fly. So today, I'm going to go into the shadow and the grace of the crown chakra, represented by the color violet. So the crown chakra is the energy center that's most receptive to the spiritual realms, and it's where we have our connection to our spiritual nature. This is where inspiration and brilliant ideas enter into our imagination, okay, or third eye. It's also this chakra, the crown chakra, that gives us the capacity to live our life in tune with the infinite, meaning we bring our divinity into our humanity, right? By living through faith instead of fear. Now, the shadow of this chakra is known as the shadow of postponing our good. Now, in the mystical tradition here of the West, it's been called the sin of sloth. But I hate that idea because I think sloths are adorable animals. They're so sweet. But if we look at it as the shadow of postponing our good, it's that we spend more time thinking about what we want than doing. Okay? Now this can also be called spiritual laziness, but I think that a lot of us, it's not that we're spiritually lazy, it's that we are genuinely stuck and we don't know the next thing to do. And so if we are living through our wounds, if we are living in a kind of fear, we're going to automatically want to choose the next safest thing to do rather than the what's best for our higher self, rather than what would bring us more joy and creative expression. Okay? So I like thinking of it as the shadow of postponing our good. Okay? We stay safe when we are just thinking about the big changes we'd like to make in our lives. Right? We may be thinking big things, right? We're thinking about moving forward. Maybe you're thinking about ending a relationship or changing jobs, okay? And a lot of us, I don't know if you've ever heard of perfectionism, but a lot of us can also get stuck in making something perfect. So we think we're actually doing something. We think we're moving toward our whatever, but we're spending more time imagining it than creating it through all the research that we're doing. And yes, it's true. Sometimes we need to research things. But often, I mean, if you think about it, really, a lot of times researching, you'll feel it, it's a form of procrastination. Okay. Sometimes we put off our own good because we get really, really, really inspired by someone or something. And it feels so amazing that we think we did all the work, right? I remember back in the early 90s, I discovered Anthony Robbins on QVC. And oh my gosh, it's a home shopping channel, right? I love listening to him. He was so inspiring to listen to. I bought the 2 books he had out at the time. I don't think I ever read them, but I loved watching him so much. I was so inspired, I felt changed. But I never experienced an actual transformation just by watching his amazing stuff. That's because inspiration happens only in the mind. Transformation happens in our actions. Okay, so we can be as inspired as we want. We can dream as big as we want, and we never have to deal with any of the consequences of creating something new in our lives, right? It's really easy in our mind. I mean, imagine dreaming about how amazing it would be to join Doctors Without Borders and travel to Africa. It would be amazing to think about, but joining it would be a whole other ball game, right? That would turn your life around. Everything would change. Your life would flip. And of course, having our life flip is, well, it's the outcome of transformation. It's what happens, right? But you can see where just fantasizing about it is way different than actually doing it. Okay, so this is some major league stuff here. When we keep it all in our imagination, we can actually miss out on a lot. Okay, so here, source inspires you, gives you an inspiration, gives you an idea to do something. Now, this idea is meant for you, or you would never have received it. So this idea is meant for you, meaning you're capable of acting on the guidance to call it into your life. Okay, so imagine that you've received some sort of inspiration for some well-being, for greater good. Okay, so you receive this inspiration. Well, what happens when we receive a big inspiration, right? Sometimes we have our buts, we have our excuses. And some of my excuses have looked like, oh, I would love to do this thing, but I need more money. I need more support. Well, I could really use more guidance. I need to take another workshop. I need to read another book. I would need to highlight my hair. I want the guarantee. Okay? Sometimes these excuses look like, well, right now I'm tired. Right now I don't feel like it. Right? I don't feel like doing all this work. But basically, when we come up with a really good excuse like that, and some of these excuses are legit, like some of them are, okay? But when we come up with an excuse, we receive this beautiful inspiration, and then what we're basically saying is, no. We're saying no to those forces guiding us on how to move forward in our lives. We're saying no to that power that creates worlds, that is so ready to create this through us. Now, when we are really struggling, these forces, they move into crisis management for our benefit. If we are experiencing an illness or if we ourselves are in crisis, these cosmic forces will take over with guidance to heal. Okay, and this will be practical guidance. It's not like a burning bush kind of guidance. It's practical guidance, right? That maybe we just need to go home and have a good cry. Or maybe we need more rest. Maybe we need to get up off of our computer and go for a walk. Now, this is some practical advice here. It's practical guidance. And when we listen and do it, we'll feel better, right? Even if in the moment, maybe it's just a little better. Okay, but I've been guided sometimes to get off my computer because my fitness tracker ring, you see that big ring there? It's sometimes when I'm on my computer for a long time, it thinks I'm napping. So it's time for me to get up and move, right? Sometimes the guidance looks like stop blaming, stop complaining. Okay, so this is guidance that would move us forward, right? Sometimes the guidance, it's like really, we know it's hard, right? We're like, we don't want to hear this kind of guidance. Like maybe it's time to end a relationship, right? Maybe it's time to leave a job that you hate. Okay. Maybe it's scary guidance, like maybe go back to school. Okay, but see, these are all living instructions. And when the soul gives us living instructions, we don't want to use an excuse to postpone our well-being, right? To postpone our good. But we do, because it takes us out of our comfort zone. Some of those things are hard to do. Okay, so the shadow of postponing our good, we're saying no to life and all its gifts. Right? That's what we're saying no to. Now, the grace of this chakra is wisdom. Okay, wisdom. Our personal spirit is in contact with the greater forces at work, right? And this creates a spiritual opening so that we can step in to our divine truth and we can accept life as a sacred assignment, no matter what's going on in our lives. And this is what the great teachers did. Moses, the Buddha, Yeshua the Christ, the Dalai Lama. They chose to accept their life as their sacred assignment, even though it meant hardship. It meant walking away from comfort. It meant sacrificing an easier life. We are guided by wisdom, right? When we listen to this, to the grace of wisdom, then we're guided by this wisdom instead of being guided by our shadow, or we could call it woe. We're guided by wisdom instead of woe. And woe is to be focused on the problem. Woe is to be focused on the buts. The buts. Now, I love the story of Moses because he had the most legit list of buts. Okay, when the Lord appeared to him with a burning bush and told him what he was going to do, Moses says, well, but who am I? Like, but what if they don't listen? But I'm not a good speaker. All right. So he had some legitimate buts, and the Lord had to step in and say, oh, well, I'll take care of it. You know, I'll get your brother to come speak for you, and I'll let you turn this staff into a serpent. Right. The Lord came through, even though Moses had his buts. Right. So of course we're going to have our buts. We are going to have our buts. But you know what? Source comes through when we say yes to this grace of wisdom. Right? Wisdom guides us towards solutions, even though we have our own buts. Now, Carolyn Mace says this: wisdom gives us the strength to recognize that life cannot be lived without pain, but that we can minimize our suffering by learning to make wise choices. Now, in the New Thought tradition, and I came to New Thought metaphysics and New Age stuff back in the 90s, late 80s actually, early 90s. And there was this kind of implied, dynamic that life will be perfect when you master all the spiritual laws. Life will just be perfect. But what we know is that it never is. It never is perfect. We want to become intimate with our shadows and our graces so that we handle what comes to us in life. We go through it with a little more elegantly than if we're having to struggle through it. So wisdom is to know that the presence of God, being the everywhere presence that it is, infinite everywhere presence, this presence is unfolding through all of the events of our lives. And this presence is unfolding through all of the events on this planet, all of the worries, all of your concerns that keep you up at night. Okay, the presence of God is unfolding through all of that and through all of us, through every person on this planet. No matter how we eat, vote, pray, or parent, God is unfolding through each of us. That means that guidance, divine guidance, for any obstacle in our way, for any challenge that we may face, guidance is also constantly unfolding for us, right? Through us, for us, as us. But this divine guidance is also unfolding through all things, through other people, through other events, through situations. Okay? So we listen to the gift of grace, of wisdom. We listen and we make a wise choice. And then this moves us from being a pawn in our own lives, which is, well, life happens to me and life's not fair, but there's nothing I can do about it. We stop being a bystander in our own life and we become a player in the game of life. We become the hero in our own story, right? We're not a secondary character. We're not the quirky sidekick. We are the hero in our own story. Okay, because this grace is giving us the instruction, giving us the guidance for moving through whatever it is we're going through right now. And there's always something that we are going through. So here's our call to action for this week. I'm going to start with our affirmation. And I'm going to say it, and then let's say it again together. I listen, and when I say I listen, I mean listen to the divine within. I listen, and I make wise choices. I listen, and I make wise choices. I'm going to paraphrase this, but the sun shines on us, on everyone, whether we are living life through our shadow or our grace. And it rains on us, whether we are choosing for our highest good or not. Life keeps going on around us, whether we are a pawn or a player in this game of life. The planet continues to spin, and it continues to orbit around the sun, and our galaxy continues to spin on whatever trajectory it's on in this great, big, beautiful universe. It does it all. Life is unfolding around us. The divine is unfolding around us, whether we are a pawn or a player. But making that choice to be the pawn or the player is going to make all of the difference in how we experience the unfolding of all of that around us. So here's our invitation for this week, right? There's going to be moments for all of us. We're going to know that we just received divine guidance. We're going to know, get up and drink some water, get off the computer, go to bed a little earlier, call your grandma. Okay, we're going to know we just received divine guidance, but immediately, if we don't get up and do it immediately, it means we have a but. So let's look at our but, right? And because we want to know, right, is our but a legitimate but or not, right? So we're going to scan our energetic system to see if our but, if it's because we're in our shadow, we're in our wound, okay? So for example, I promised to go walk my dog, but it may be that I got up and my knee was swollen and I can hardly move it. That is a legit but, right? It's a legit but. But my but also could be this. Well, I promised to walk my dog, but I really need more coffee. I'd really just want to watch Netflix. I don't feel like it. Okay? It's really not legit, right? So we might get guidance. Of course, there's all the practical things, but we also might get guidance for something. And at first it can feel really, really exciting. Okay? Like, oh, there's this new book club, or, oh, there's this job, right? But say the book club doesn't start for another month. So it's like, or the job, you still have to, send in a resume and wait and hear. Okay, so there's like a waiting period. So like for the book club, I've done this, like, oh, this will be really fun. It's going to be great to meet some new people. Oh, I bought the book and I'm really loving this. It's going to be so great. It could be so great to discuss this with some people. Okay. But then the day of the book club comes and I'm like, well, I'm kind of tired. I don't know. It's weird meeting new people. why did I respond yes to this? Okay. Is my butt legit or not? Okay. This new job that you want, maybe it's you send in your resume, they love you, they call you. And so now it's like, oh, wow, I have to drive an hour to go get my interview. And well, I don't know, like, but, right? So we want to ask, right? Am I in my shadow? Am I in my shadow? Because if we're in our shadow, our butt will be around not being enough, right? I'm not enough. I don't have enough of whatever. Life's not fair. This is really hard. I don't think I can do this. I'm not empowered to make these kind of changes. Who was I to think that this could happen right now, right? And see, once we get that awareness, well, this is when we start transmuting our suffering. We've gotten awareness. Whoa, I was in my shadow. I was just in a mistaken perception of myself, and that's all. And all that means is it's time to call forth more light. It's time to recognize, feel our way into the graces again. So we drop down into our root chakra, okay? And we can say this out loud. This is what I do. God is all things. God is all things, and that means me, and that means everybody I know, and all the ideas I get, and all the inspiration I get, right? God is present in all things, everywhere, all the time. And then we go into the first grace, the grace of the root chakra, the grace of reverence. We see all of life is sacred, right? Everything came from God, everything's from God, so everything is sacred. And then the grace of piety. So now I just have to recognize, I have to commit to seeing the divine in all things. The divine in this new book club I'm about to go to, but I'm afraid to, or that I was divinely guided to check out this other job. Okay, and then into the grace of understanding. And which is, we're never going to know the whole story. Why did anything happen, or what's going on behind the scenes? We're never going to know all that. But we can understand, like right here and now, that we were guided to try something, and that's all that we need to know. Okay? And then, so we just seek the wonder that is God in all things. That's all. That's all we have to do. Then the grace of fortitude in our heart chakra, right? We have the strength, we have the courage to do what needs to come next. If we were guided to do something, it means we're capable of doing it. And then the grace of counsel. Now we know. So are we consciously going to choose to not listen? Are we going to make a choice that fails to honor the divine within us? Or are we going to choose wisely and make the choice that honors the divine within us and follow that divine direction, knowing that as we listen and act, as we are called to do something, we are qualified along the way. And then we move into the grace of knowledge, which is a deeper understanding of the nature of the divine and the sacred expression of all things. And then the grace of wisdom. We consider our choices and consequences. We know that there is pain in life, but we minimize our suffering by making wise choices. Not the safe choices, the wise choices, because the wise choices are the choices to do greater things, to live in faith and not fear, to live in faith and not fear. Because living in faith and making those wise choices, that is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are divinely designed to be doing all of this. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is. So it is.